Welp, here we are, folks, 2025, which means we are at the midst of Thomas's 80th anniversary, and we're already getting sneak peeks at what's up to coming, but we don't know everything yet. But before we really get into the celebrating mood, I kinda wanted to look back. 10 years ago, 2015, Thomas and Friends' 70th anniversary. This anniversary is praised for being one of the best, if not the best way they've ever celebrated the franchise's run. But what made it so special? Let's look back and see what the 80th anniversary can use as an example for this year. 2015 saw the release of Season 19 of Thomas and Friends, and this season was sure interesting. I don't want to call it bad, but to say it was a mixed bag at the time would be a bit of an understatement. Some people lauded it as one of the best seasons in years, others said it was as bad as a Sharon Miller era season. But I'll give this one a lot of credit. It's always interesting to watch. Sometimes you get a fantastic episode like Toad and the Whale. Other times, you get a not-so-fantastic episode like Henry Spots Trouble. This one kept you on your toes, knowing that this was not going to be your usual Thomas season. And while I wouldn't call it a big celebration, I at least respect the fact that it felt very experimental for the year's season. It's definitely not a very anniversary-esque season, like there is no episode really celebrating the show's history. Honestly, that comes in the following season 20, but going into season 19, this one's just kind of interesting, and hey, I'll at least say that year's season was at least not mindless or boring, so that gets some props, right? Merchandise, okay, also wasn't the absolute best either. I swear, this year was good. But there were some pretty cool things, like this year introduced the Thomas Minis line, which became a fun fan favorite until they started getting really lazy with it. But hey, back when they started with these were kind of cool, fun novelties to collect for. Wooden Railway also had some cool toys, specifically this variant of Thomas and this Gold Thomas over here. Take and Play also did a Gold Thomas. Hornby and Bachman did these shiny ones that were like celebration-esque things. And there was this really cool Thomas statue that is for some reason called a Wooden Railway item, even though I don't think there's any wood a part of it. But in general, while the merchandise wasn't at its absolute peak, there was some real highlights, and you could at least tell they tried to make it feel like a pretty big deal, which I appreciate a lot. And it wasn't just store shelves or the TV airwaves where Thomas's celebration was going on. We also had a few YouTube stuff. There was the 70th anniversary documentary, which had Christopher Audrey in it, and a bunch of kids talking about their experiences with Thomas, which was really wholesome and lovely. There was this Mexican birthday song in 2D. I mean, it's cool, I suppose. It had Neil Patrick Harrison screaming at a bunch of little kids about specific Thomas facts. You know, to be honest, back then this seemed a bit bizarre for a Thomas fan to do, but nowadays, this actually seems pretty normal. I guess this was predicting the future. In spite of that, though, I would still argue this is pretty funny. We also had the YouTube World Tour ones, where they would go through classic era music videos and redo them in CGI, which was kind of fun to see. And hey, we got our first music video renditions of Rules and Regulations, and that's what Friends are for. Not to mention they did other cool things like Mr. Perkins' Storytime, and we have the Thomas Creator Collective, which started this year, which was like a fun little gathering of Thomas fans making their own stuff. Now, admittedly, there's a lot of controversy with the behind the scenes and Mattel using child labor, but let's not get into that, because this is supposed to be why the anniversary was cool. And in terms of this, it was kind of fun to see a bunch of creators work together to make their own little Thomas stories, admittedly under their corporate overheads, but still, it was fun. But I know what you were all waiting for, easily the best aspect of 70 Years of Thomas. The Adventure Begins and Sodor's Legends of the Lost Treasure, two of some of the absolute best Thomas movies, which I covered in that Ranking Every Thomas Movie video from a while back. But to keep it short, The Adventure Begins was a lovely retelling of the first two Railway series stories and the first 7 episodes of the TV show, modernized in ways that improved the story, while having a few drawbacks, was still a fantastic time. And Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure was just an awesome adventure pirate movie that introduced characters from the books and reintroduced classic favorites like Donald and Douglas in such a fun, momentary story. Overall, two fantastic movies that you should totally watch this year as well. In fact, you should just watch them all, period, because they're great. But yeah, as you can tell, while it wasn't perfect, for the most part, the 70th anniversary, at least it seemed like they tried. They had two fantastic specials, a season that was very experimental and out there, and a bunch of cool YouTube stuff that was hard to ignore. So what can the 80th anniversary do in turn? Well, for starters, cool and interesting merchandise, which it already looks like we're getting with this cool Thomas Minis and a Magic Railroad themed Diesel 10. But yeah, merchandise like this that goes a long way to celebrate the anniversary is something that I would appreciate a lot. Another thing I think would be worth doing is trying some behind the scenes stuff. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of All Engines Go, but I would still be interested in the process of making it, not to mention the process of the CGI era and the model series. I just like to see the production of everything, and I don't know if you can still do it, but maybe try to get Christopher Audrey to say some stuff or two. And already with that train sim collab that the series is doing, maybe try other franchise collabs. It wouldn't be impossible. I mean, with Thomas Minis, he already did a couple of those, so why not try to bring something like that back? Like, I don't know, it'd be kind of fun to see, like, a Sesame Street theme, or maybe a Bob the Builder theme. I mean, you own that show. Just some things I think would be really cool to try out. And hey, with the returns of Duck, Donald, and Douglas, I'm sure All Engines Go this year will at least be interesting. Will it be up my alley, or be my thing? Who knows, but I am at least curious to check it out, and maybe they'll do a fun special that'll celebrate the property. Or it'll be a Calling All Engines, and it'll just say it's an anniversary special when it doesn't have anything to do with the anniversary of anything. But hey, those are just some suggestions on what Mattel can do to make the 80th anniversary as cool as the 70th. Now, I don't think the 80th anniversary is going to top the 70th anniversary, unless they release the Down the Mine pilot or do a complete series box set, in which cases I think it will. But hey, I'm at least excited no matter what, because it should at least be fun. But anyways, tell me what you guys think in the comments below. What do you think Mattel should do for this anniversary? And do you think it'll be a good year for the Thomas & Friends brand? Say so in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time. Later.